Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Samuel E. Underwood. We're going to be discussing his amazing memoir, Before I Became Me, The Path to My Greatness. That's available for purchase through Amazon as well as barnesandnoble.com. And people, listen, that is the anchor for today. That's going to be the one that you're going to want to embark upon. But you're going to want to check back in Amazon and Barnes & Noble frequently, okay? Because there's another book. Now, it's still in creation. It's not available for purchase just yet. But Samuel has another book that he's in the process of writing that you're going to want to check out as well. Now, that one is called I Am Who I Am, The Person I Need to Know. Again, still in creation, but check back in frequently to get that book the moment it becomes available. And before we go any further, I do want to take this opportunity and point out that Sam was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by one of the best advertising firms in the business. And people, you already know, I'm talking about Author Reputation Press. So listen, if you're a writer out there, you have a book that you've written, and now you find yourself at what appears to be a crossroads, right? Because, well, you've written this masterpiece, but now you need help moving it. Well, I'm going to give you some fantastic advice, and I hope you're sitting down. You got to contact ARP. Okay, believe me, they're one of the best in the business to do it. And frankly, this is what they specialize in. Head on over to authorreputationpress.com today and gather all of the ways that they're going to help maximize your creative endeavors. And listen, it is a true pleasure to have Sam here on the line. I love what this book symbolizes. I love what this book can mean to you and what it can mean to those around you. And listen, at the end of the day, we're only going to scratch the surface, okay? You're going to have to run on over to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and by the time we've concluded, I have no doubt that you're going to do just that. But don't take my word for it. Take Sam's. It's his book. It's his life. He's going to be able to articulate it much better than I ever could. Sit back and strap in. Samuel, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How you doing today, man?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. Thank you for having me, Ben. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, the pleasure is all ours, man. I think, as I mentioned in my opening, and I believe this, I mean this, what you're doing here is special. What you're doing here is needed and it's powerful. So we want to take the opportunity to commend you and thank you, not only for being here with us to discuss it, but listen, we wouldn't have been able to invite you on the network had you not written it, right? So first and foremost, thank you for having the bravery to share your story. And Sam, I know that this is a memoir. So the book is going to cover not only your journey, but also your background. So I guess both of these questions can really be tied in. Let's just jump right in and start off with the book, since we're going to learn about you as well. Before I Became Me, The Path to My Greatness. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Well, it's a, memoir of how I started in life, my trials and tribulations, and, I found a substance, to help me deal with maybe the community that I was being raised in, and just the obstacles in school and everything. And I chose, to use narcotics or a substance, alcohol, marijuana, angel dust, you name it. I mean, I used to now that I am who I am, and I am a substance abuse counselor. I work with people with substance abuses. I look at myself, or I put myself in that category as a garbage head. So whoever I was with, whatever they did, I did. They popped pills, I popped pills. They shot dope, I shot dope. So I was the kind of guy that, I did everything just to get along, just to hang out. And I thought that I had to do that to be a part. But as my journey went on in life, I realized that I had other talents and that I didn't have to use to feel a part, and I just wanted to write this book and let other people know that, you don't have to get intoxicated to speak to young ladies, or, if you with a crowd that their thing is everybody's going to get high and you feel in your gut that that's not something I want to do. Don't bow to the peer pressure. Just be the leader or the individual inside of you that's saying no, and just keep it moving.
Sam, I love what you're saying here. People, as I mentioned, this book carries weight for so many reasons, because he's touching up on a lot of things here. Listen, it doesn't always have to be addiction, right? How many of us out there fall into the category where we do something out of acceptance, right? Or out of the urge of wanting to be accepted. Now, granted, it may not necessarily be a drug or categorized in such a way, but there is so much relatability here. And this is going to lead into my next question. We know, based upon what you just said, why you felt compelled to write this narrative. Well, I'm going to take it a step further in terms of tips that can be offered. I know you offer them in the book, but as an extra teaser here for our listening audience, Samuel, what do you say to our listening audience, people out there listening in right now that, listen, man, they don't want to do certain things, but they feel that the circle of people that they have around them, they wouldn't be accepted if they didn't smoke cigarettes, or if they didn't smoke weed, or if they didn't drink, or whatever the case may be. Nowadays, with social media, we have an endless amount of pressure that comes along with that. But to hone it in here, what are some tips you can offer to make people feel comfortable and confident going against the grain?
I would just say, be the person that you are. And when we were, I know me, when I was growing up as a little boy, I had a whole lot of inhibitions and things that I wanted to be. And I had a lot of creativity. I used to put a towel around my neck and said I was Superman because I thought I could fly. I probably didn't really knew I could fly, but, I wanted to, in my heart, I felt free.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a lawyer, but I think as we grow up, we hear the naysayers and, oh, that's stupid. That don't make sense. You can't never accomplish that. Mm-hmm. I ask everyone, go back and find that little kid inside of you. And how was that person? What did that person want to be? Were they a follower or were they a leader? And if they were a leader, what made them make them choices to follow? Why did they subside to peer pressure? I think sometimes that's the worst, and you become something that you're really not. And a lot of times that deep down inside, you're really not comfortable, but you think that's being cool or that's the way it should be. But I tell you, Benji, when you get to be, I'm 65 years old, and when you get to be a certain age, you kind of be angry at yourself, like I shoulda, coulda, woulda. If I would have did this, I would have been this, and so I'm saying, even if you're a certain age, don't let that stop you. But if you're a younger person and you're listening to my voice, just go inside of you and create or build on that creativity and don't be afraid. Just keep on, have the faith that you can accomplish anything if you put your mind to it. And I got something for the older people that I did some research, and I found out Colonel Sanders, he was 60-something years old when Kentucky Fried Chicken became like a hit. So it doesn't matter. You could be young or old. Just stay to your, keep your focus. And that's the biggest tip that I could say. And watch out for distractions, because there's so many distractions that's around or in this world that distracts you all the time and takes you out of out of the focus that you need to accomplish the things that you say you want to accomplish.
There you have it. I love it. People, I'm telling you, this is something you need to add to your shelf, and you got to head on over to Amazon and Barnes & Noble in order to do it. The title is Before I Became Me, The Path to My Greatness by Samuel E. Underwood. Make sure to check out his next book, I Am Who I Am, The Person I Need to Know. Still in creation, but check back in frequently to get that one the moment it becomes available, because this is something you're going to need, okay? Samuel, next question here for you, man, and this is going to kind of go towards what I was saying in my opening in terms of your bravery and your courage. About your writing process, man, listen, any artist can relate that when it comes to sharing your work of art, when it comes to sharing your artistry, it's not always as easy as just showcasing it, right? Sometimes for certain people it is, but for many, many people, there's fear of failure, there's doubt, there's so much that comes along with it. Well, I want to ask you, Samuel, how do you personally handle the vulnerability that comes with sharing your work with the world, particularly in this instance when it touches upon something so personal to you?
From the first time that I wanted to write my story, my first idea or my first thought was to help someone. Because I've heard of people with anything. I mean, I focus now that I'm, learning more about myself and other people. It's an addictive personality. That's what we deal with.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's not only drugs, it could be food, it could be gambling. So I just wanted to spread a message that if you put your mind to it, you can overcome anything. Mm-hmm. And what you said, Benji, at first I was a little bit hesitant, because if I put my story out there, people might look at me differently. Yeah. Like, oh man, this dude was on drugs, because I am not the guy that I used to be 30-something years ago. But I was like, I could be the perfect maybe poster child and let people see that you can accomplish something, or even more than I've accomplished, if you put your mind to it and you just say no. Mm-hmm. So that was what I was focusing on. And if someone holds my story against me, I look at, we all have skeletons in the closet, and some people are just not brave enough to let their skeletons out.
Absolutely. Sam, curiosity for myself with this next one, man, but what would you say was a highlight for you in writing the book? Or maybe not highlight, because highlight, given the subject matter, maybe highlight has the wrong connotation. What would you say was something that surprised you throughout this entire process that you weren't anticipating before you began?
Well, the impact that the book has risen to. Mm-hmm. I mean, people come to me and they tell me, yo, man, this book is so inspiring, man. I commend you. And I run into mothers that tell me that they were strict on their sons when they were young boys. They was like, yo, just how your mother used to be, I'm just like that with my son. And I tell them, well, you see how I turned out. I mean, even though through all the things that I've done, I still turned out to be a pretty all right guy. So I don't think you're doing anything wrong. And just the magnitude that's happening on my job. I told you I work in a facility with substance abuse. They're putting me as they bought 10 of my books, and every week we're going to have like a reading some part of my book, and I'm going to facilitate a group with the guys that might be substance abuser or dealing with some type of addictive personality. Wow. I didn't even imagine anything like this could happen. Yeah. And I'm a spiritual brother. So I remember years ago, I ran into a guy and he asked me, what are you doing? And I was like just doing a whole bunch of stuff. The book wasn't even in my head. And he told me, he said, man, won't you just stand still and let God be God? He said, next thing you know, he'll blow your mind because he'll put you in places and around people that you never thought you would be connected to. And Benji, that's what I'm seeing with this book. It's blowing my mind, man.
I love that. Sam, listen, man, 2-part question with this next one. And I think it's safe to assume the answer to it, but listen, as I always say, you know what happens when you assume, right? So I'm not going to do that to you. I got you here on the line, man. Let's go directly to your source. Who would you say, first and foremost, who would you say is your intended reader with the book? And I know we've already started to cover it, but I think it's so important, it's worth doubling down on. What is the main message that you hope that they receive after completing it?
That if they have faith and they believe, no matter what obstacle you're dealing with, you can overcome it. You just have to have the right tools. And if you look on the front page of the cover of the book, it depicts a man that's looking at some hills. And his journey is to go over those hills. But he has a backpack on his back. And in that backpack, he has all the tools that he needs to take him on that journey. And I think that that's how life is. You have to have the proper tools to prepare you for the journeys that you are going to encounter in life.
And who would you say is your intended reader here, Sam?
I would say maybe 18 to 35, and then it's probably going to touch other people. But, I think that's when I really started having trouble in my life, when I was a youngster. But I could have bounced back, but things happened in my life and I kind of went the other way,
Sam, I think it's very poignant that you talk about that particular age group, because those are transformative years, right? 18 to 35. A lot of us, the majority of us probably, are shaping and becoming the adults that we are going to be for the rest of our lives in those years. Or at least so many of our beliefs are solidified in those years. So I think it's very poignant that you point to that. And like your book symbolizes, the hope and the inspiration for change is there. So let's say someone listening in right now is in those years, or maybe you just got past it, right? Maybe you just turned 40 and you feel like, oh, well, if the book is dedicated for 18 to 35, can I really get anything from it? Or is it possible for me to change even though now I'm no longer in that transformative state of being? And I will say absolutely, right? And again, your book, you mentioned this, man. It is never too late. I believe you utilized the KFC reference. But people, there's a whole host of individuals that we can find throughout the history of time that have accomplished greatness in their later years. It doesn't always have to be at a younger time. So no matter how old you are, no matter where you are on your particular path, there's so much left to be gained. You just got to shift your perception. It's not easy. I always want to make sure that I reinstill that. It's not easy, but it can be done. The hope and the inspiration is there. I love that. My final question here for you, Sam. I'm an artist myself, and I'm in a different medium, but I love having my platform here through People of Distinction to utilize in ways of paying it forward whenever the opportunities present themselves. Now, you are someone that, listen, whether this is your first book, your 10th book, doesn't matter. Bottom line is, man, you are a bona fide author. And I know that this is your first, but you have a second one on the horizon. And you not only have written this fantastic narrative, but you've gone through the gauntlet of getting it published. And anybody that's been through the process understands that's a different battle in its own right. So you have a lot of wisdom to share For any new writers out there listening in right now, Samuel, what are some words of wisdom that you can offer to them about the journey they're getting ready to take?
Well, I think you should build your content. So what I did real quick, Benji, is I made a pact with myself that every morning for 100 days, I would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning before my family was woke and, New York City was woke. And I would sit and write for 1 hour. I got me one of those black and white notebooks or spiral notebooks or, whatever you prefer. And I wrote a page a day. And when I got to 100 pages, I was like, okay, I went out and I found a publishing company. And one night I was just watching late night TV, and I seen Author Reputation Press. It was a commercial. I don't even think I seen the commercial no more, and I called for their kit and I sent it to them. Also, if you're serious, you need to put a little bit of money to the side. So maybe have, how you set up a Christmas fund, maybe call it your book publishing fund or whatever. And, because it's going to cost you some money unless you decide to self-publish. But I chose not to self-publish because I wanted some people to do it that had a little bit more expertise than I did.
Right.
And maybe on the second one, I might try self-publishing. But I think the biggest thing is develop your content, get your material, and then once it don't have to be perfect. It could just be raw material. It's from your creative mind, and then from there you get somebody to proofread it, they edit it, they send it back to you more than one time. You proofread it, and and then you get the hard copy that you want to put out to the public, and you approve it, and then before you know it, you'll have an actual book. Because I did 100 pages, but they broke it down to like 50-something pages.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, listen, that's the importance of having a team around you, right? I mean, constructive criticism is always beneficial from an artist's perspective. Because at the end of the day, you're not selling to yourself, right? You're selling to the public, and you want to have that team around you that's going to help you see things from different perspectives. And people, there was a lot of fantastic advice in that answer. And one of the underlying words that kept coming up is dedication. Setting up that roadmap, writing every single day. All of these things are surrounded by dedication. So whatever it is in your particular craft, I know that answer was for writers, but people, I don't care who you are, I don't care what your background is, you could take that and you can run with it. Whatever it is that you're doing, as long as you're dedicated and doing it constantly, that's how you're going to perfect your craft, and that's how you're going to get the most valuable product that you're looking for. I'm telling you, listen, I can sit here, man, and I could talk to Sam for hours. This is something special. What he's talking about here, I'm going through the Rolodex of my own memories and thinking in my path, different circumstances that I've contended with myself, those around me, and it's littered with examples. And I could tell you, man, if there was a book of this magnitude that I had experienced when I was going through some of my toughest journeys, how beneficial this would have been. Well, at the end of the day, people, this is something for you to have for a rainy day. This is something for you to have right now. This is something for you to have tomorrow. It doesn't matter. Amazon, Barnes & Noble are where you have to go. If you're like me, you're sold. You're at the edge of your seat. You're understanding everything that's going. You're vibing with it because you get the message behind it. Well, now it's time for you to go and pick up your copies. Before I Became Me, The Path to My Greatness by Samuel E. Underwood. Check out the next book, I Am Who I Am, The Person I Need to Know. The moment it becomes available, you're going to have to check back in frequently because I promise you that one's going to be a game changer. People, these books they're so much bigger than a literary work of art. Of course, on the basic level that it is. But this book is a life changer. This book is a movement. Go and pick it up and get involved in it. Don't get passed by. And at the same time, actually get the book as a gift for someone else to add to their shelf, because this is the perfect one for you to do it with. Head on over there today, pick up your copies. Sam, this has been a true pleasure, man, an absolute delight. Thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Thank you. Thank you so much.